Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Michael, for having me. My name is Youssef, and I'm an analyst and portfolio manager working for Amiral Gestion, a French asset management company, since 2016. So basically, since I finished my studies, I started as an intern there, and now I have a full-time position for 3 years. So basically, what I would like to do is very briefly, in a couple of minutes, describe you who we are, the specificities of our investment process, and then share with you one of our favorite ideas at the moment, which is a French telco player called Illiad. So Amiral Gestion, very briefly, we are an independent asset manager established since 2003, 100% owned by employees. So very passionate employees. Even though we manage 3.7 billion, we have 33 people dedicated to investment, which is a nice ratio if you put it comparing to AUM, because we believe in fundamental research. So our AUMs, 2/3, let's say, are mutual funds, and 1/3 is split between some pensioners' money and some wealth management. And our track record now for the longest fund is stock picking equity fund, 6-temps payout, 13% per year per annum, compounded since 2003. Flexible fund, 6-temps grand large, is also 10%, and the most recent funds also have a decent performance. So one of the reasons I am here is probably that I share the same mindset, value mindset with you. So just want to tell you about our specificities. We consider ourselves to be value investors, fundamental value investors, I would say, because we look at the companies that first we can understand, very simple businesses, easy to forecast, apply a fundamental methodology. So we run a DCF, try to assess the earning power of the business, the normative profitability, get an idea about the competitive landscape, and at the end we also try to seek a nice margin of safety. So we tend to have a very conservative estimate on what we put. So being a bottom-up value investor is very nice, but at the same time can be very frustrating if you work in committees. So what happens often is that you always have some people that run the show, let's say star portfolio managers, and on the other side you also have companies where you have some investment committees. And with investment committees, the downside is that you don't really have any clear conviction, while when you are really doing bottom-up and fundamental research, you strongly believe in your convictions. So the way we organize ourselves is a very specific way. We try to split the fund into several sub-portfolios. So we came across what we see currently is that the decision making, when you have one man, it's always permanent risk, and when you have a committee, it's always consensual. So the idea is to divide the fund, as I said, into sub-portfolios, and with that we assess each manager, a part of the fund. It can be based on previous track record, on experience, on seniority, and with that you can let each manager express its own ideas. So you reward really the independent thinking and the uniqueness of each manager, let's say. And also it's very interesting for the youngers and the newcomers to the firm, because you can express yourself and already build a track and put your money where your mouth is, so that other people can also challenge the senior people. And when the idea is good, normally it's ended up by being repeated and taken over by the other portfolio manager, and that's how it emerged into being one of the conviction of a fund. So we found it system that have been working very well for the last 15 years, and so today I would like to talk to you about one of the ideas we had and that emerged through this system to be one of the most relevant position that we have currently. And it's Illiad. I don't know if you know something about the French telco market. So this is one of the main players there. It's a 5.5 billion market cap, 8 billion EV. How I would like to do is perhaps give you an introduction about how the market is structured, just to get a sense of who are the players, and then specifically discuss the Illiad case, who has been a fallen angel recently. So, but before, I think the Illiad story cannot be separated from this man, which is Xavier Niel. Maybe some of you knows him. We like companies with managers that have skin in the game. And Niel has 52% ownership. Actually, it was his venture that he started earlier ago, and he's the inventor of the set-top box that turned out to be a clear success all across the world. He came up with this idea of the box to bundle the service of TV and internet and phone in one box. So he revolutionized the market like that, and he's clearly an outsider in his way of doing business, and also in the people that surround him. He tends to recruit people from forums, for example, from the internet, drop out from school. So a very disruptive guy that disrupted the French telecom industry, and that's why perhaps we currently have one of the lowest prices in the world, thanks to this man, which is also one of the problems of the market, as we're going to see. So if you like to know more, I recommend reading his biography. So very briefly, also about the French market. So Illiad is holding active on both sides, on the mobile and the broadband, with the 17% market share on the mobile and 33% market share on the broadband business. So just historically, to describe the other players, so Orange is the incumbent, 40% market share in both, and then you have SFR and Bouygues, who are the challengers, and Illiad, who has been the market entrant, really in the early 2000s, the beginning in the broadband division by inventing the free box, the set-top box, and then late in 2012 by entering into the mobile, managed to grab 17% market share. And I think one of the reasons you see this chart below is that thanks to Illiad again, prices in France are the lowest you can find. It's a bit scary when you look at this industry, because you think that with lower prices and very competitive environments, well, you could also say that prices cannot go down to some extent, but it's a mistake actually. So investing in Illiad is also about a conviction that sometimes you're going to get market repair, and another time, and also on the other hand, that the company also has some specifics that will make it thrive, at least on the next 10 years, I believe. So Illiad, in a nutshell, as I told you, it's the second French broadband operator. This division makes 52% of the sales, disrupting the market with the free box. And the positioning has always been very simple. So the smart choice, good value for money, more for more strategy. Actually, it had never attacked the market from the bottom in the broadband division, because the product was great. So it came up with a fair price. If you look at like 15 years of the French telco market, price should have dropped by maybe 10%. I looked at RCEP data, so no major value destruction there. And the way Illiad managed to enter the market is that he was about negotiating a wholesale agreement with the main players. So Orange, they were using Orange local loop to enter this market. In 2012, as I said, they entered the mobile market very aggressively this time, because they had a base of subscribers in the landline division with a very, very low price point. And again, without any asset. They entered the market as an MVNO. So a mobile virtual network operator roaming on Orange network. And then once the business case has been set up, they are now developing their own network. So when I talk about Illiad, remember that I also talk about Free, which is the brand, and which is an exceptional brand still now in France. If you look at Net Promoter Scores, always has the best brands, and you see here on the independent ranking, it's the same level as the incumbent, because this brand is associated to many things like disruption, and you also have a very strong geek and value community that is really convinced by the product, because the obsession of the company is to make in the broadband division was to make the best product available for the market, and always to be nice to customers. So I think the goodwill of the brand is very strong, even though that's not what we are buying here. So a quick recap on what happened to Illiad stock price. So here you have actually just after the IPO, we had the launch of the Free box. Was 7-8 baggers then. Phase of stability, and then launch of the mobile offer. There was some discussion about buying a network or launching a mobile. Then they got the agreement, and shortly after they released the offer, it was a massive success. So it created a lot of value again. And then what happened? Big phase of stagnation. So they contributed to drop down prices, and the market tried to consolidate several times. Meanwhile, particularity of Illiad is that it tried to change the model once the position has been established. So from going on the wholesale network of Orange, they developed their own fiber infrastructure. And also on the mobile division, they started building their own network. And so it's been a painful process. And actually recently, the reasons behind the big drop is that the KPIs of the two divisions has been weak. It was a growth stock, a successful story, but first signs of dropout and of drop in the growth, and then the stock got hammered into the value territory. So another element I should mention is that Illiad also launched a venture in Italy, which is now like 8% of sales. That commercially started last year. Already grabbed 4.5 or 5% market share. So one of the best launches in Europe. But actually it is consuming cash. So with the problem of the slowing growth and the venture in Italy, the stock went from a market darling to let's say a stock nobody wanted to own. So what I would like to do is briefly come back on the problems, and then also explain to you the reasons why Illiad has the ability to bounce back. It's the story of the disruptor being disrupted again. So they lost momentum in France due to the price war. They were initiating the price war, and now they were the ones who suffer from it. In the two division, broadband and mobile, and also, as I mentioned, the Italian division was bleeding cash. So what happened on the broadband? You had two things. So on one hand, Orange attacked the top of the market, and on the other hand, you got also some competition at the bottom of the market, because with the fiber being more and more popular among customers, Illiad has maybe 1 or 2 years lag in developing its own fiber network, and at the same time having the best position in that space. Illiad has also a very, very high market share in the very dense areas. We're talking about 40% market share in Paris and other big cities. So being slow to launch fiber, they lost some customers there. And at the same time, given that they were not really segmenting the market, they had a very frugal approach with one product. They got also attacked from the lower part of the market, because the other, like SFR and WIG, saw an opportunity to grab some customers, especially SFR that was quite aggressive ahead of refinancing, and WIG Telecom also was subscaling this division. So Illiad reacted. I mean, was part of the strategy, but it just took a little bit of time to be shown to the market. Now we can see that the fiber net adds are catching up. Why? Because Illiad has been deploying its network. Recently, as you can see on the bottom left side, you see that now they are recruiting even, there are more connectable sockets than Orange, and also that their net adds market share, fiber is higher than their current market share, so they're gaining momentum again in fiber. They're taking the customers that they lost again, that went to Orange, but now that Illiad has a strong fiber offer, they're coming. And also, part of the mistake was also to be very slow to react to the competition on the bottom of the market. So what they did is segment more their offers, which they didn't do before, and also put promotion on the first year, which seems very obvious and very simple, but they didn't do that. And many people were interested by the first year promotion. You get your subscription if you subscribe for more than 1 year for like 14 euros, for example, and then you pay the full price the next year. They implemented this, and actually they're having now a better commercial momentum that is yet to be seen in the figures. Why we don't see it? Also because last year when they had this problem, in order not to destroy the value of the pricing in their own website, they were through a parallel network of vente privée, which are flash sales, in which they discounted their offers. And now these people that are from vente privée last year are coming out of the base, and you're going to see sustainable growth on the second quarter. So these results are gonna pay. That was about the broadband. On the mobile, the offer was quite simple. So then when they entered the market, it was very aggressive. They started with the two offers you see, the 2 euros offer and the 20 euros offer. It was very easy because they already had a subscriber base in the broadband division, so part of the launch was about conversion, and the offer was voluntarily very simple, and they negotiated a roaming agreement with Orange. So with that pricing in mind, you can see that at some stage the competitors stopped Illiad growth momentum. That happened last year around Q2. So you can see here minus 200k subscribers in 1 quarter. Actually, at that time the market was expecting plus 200. So it was a big disappointment. SFR was very aggressive. Why again? Because I believe it was ahead of refinancing. Just to put things into context, SFR has a very big debt burden. So they needed to show the market at some stage that they are in a good commercial momentum, and since they had some problems before, they tried to be a little bit aggressive. And one of the reasons why they could actually be aggressive is that the network of Illiad was not that strong as the other network. It was about to be built, and on the roaming side, it was still, you had some limitations. So it was very easy to convince subscribers that they could, with a promotion to take the pool of churners that were the 2 euros guys, Illiad, into like a 5 euro offer or 10 euro offer very easily. So, but if you look at the figures, what does the figure tell you? Indeed, they tell you that here, the customers that lost Illiad were the 2 euros customers. Sorry, it's here. While the actual fee-paying customers, the ones with the high ARPU, are actually growing. So, and that translates into the growth you can see on the mobile division, which have always been positive, and that I believe will accelerate. But still, the market was disappointed. Why? Because the equity story of Illiad was about being able to convert this 2 euro base into a 20 euro base, which actually didn't happen because of the price aggressiveness of the competitors. So that's why Illiad, as I mentioned, put this offer, this intermediary offer, in order to accelerate the conversion. But now that's just a commercial topic. But the main topic is mostly about infrastructure. Illiad couldn't have been more aggressive because actually the quality of Illiad's network is lagging behind. As a latecomer to the market, they did not have the full, let's say the full networks the other had, so they had to implement it very fast. And here you can see that the rollout of the mobile network in terms of towers, you see the catch-up they did since they have started. And actually, in 8 years, they built what Bouygues Telecom needed like 10 years to do. And that pace is still on track, because as you can see on the latest 3 years, you see that the number of sites is one of the highest among the markets. And I actually saw the data today. They're still the ones that develop the most sites. So I think that this problem of the quality of the network is going to disappear in next, talking about quarters, because given that the market share is lower and that the density of the network is catching up with others, I think Illiad will network perception will be better coming forward. And as you can see, there's something I would like to highlight, is that in the places where Illiad has developed its own network, actually it's the best network you can have in France. Why? Because it's young with the new technologies, but the problem is that when you include the roaming, because part of their traffic is still carried through the Orange network, so the over perception is bad. Two things. One of the main drawbacks of the Orange network is that once you are there, if you want to go back to the Illiad network, there's agreement that says that the customers needs to stay 30 minutes on the Orange network, and which is a network with a very low speed, so that you think it's Illiad network that is not good, but actually it's just that you need to stay on this network. And the roaming agreement with Orange is going to end next year, and you can see that the portion of people on Illiad's network has never been higher, and actually it continues to go up. And so in terms of quality perception, the network is going to be better, and also with the roaming agreements with Orange, Illiad is also going to save a significant amount of money. We're talking about 100 to 120 million of roaming fee. So one of the reasons I'm getting more and more excited about this stock, and why I'm presenting it also now, is also because something is happening that didn't happen for the last 10 years with the French market. You have prices in the mobile that are going up. So the three players, Bouygues Telecom, Illiad, and SFA, are raising prices, which have never happened before. Actually, Orange has always been out of the price war. And I think there are some fundamental reasons to believe that this can be sustainable. If you look at the cash generations of the player, you come to a level where nobody generates cash. All the free cash flow of the industry is generated by Orange. So all these players need to be more disciplined, and especially that the 5G is coming out. So there are some incremental investment to do, and in the absence of consolidations, because they had some. I mean, they tried to consolidate, but they failed. So now they're raising prices. That's it. So to sum it up, on the broadband division, the fiber rollout is gonna massively help, and the repricing is commercially very efficient. And on the mobile, I think that the network is catching up. And also the prices are going up. So actually, the element that made the stock drop and that were a drag on the equity story are now reverting. Finally, the Italian venture. A word about it. If you look at Illiad's valuation today, it looks very cheap. Why? Because the market, in my opinion, is assigning negative value to the capital deployed in Italy. So The long story of Illiad is that knowing that France is going to become a cash generative business, because if you're in the mindset of the owner, you think long term, even though what I showed you here are just some market turbulences, but the long trend is that Illiad is catching up in France, so they wanted to leverage the cash flows of France into a new venture, and they chosen the Italian market, where they had a very good conditions of entry, with a portfolio of spectrum, and access to sites that were decommissioned by wind and tree, good roaming agreements to start with. So the commercial launch was a success. Here you can see that it was a huge success. Only second to the Illiad's own launch in France. I think it's the second success launch in Europe. But currently, this venture is bleeding cash, as you can see here in 2019. If you look at the gross margin, it's negative. Why? Because Illiad decided to accelerate and not to make the same mistake it did in France when it started on the mobile, and to try to build its own network very early. So they're paying the roaming fee to the other operators, and at the same time they're building their network. So and given the very, very high attraction and the very high commercial success, actually they have to pay more in terms of roaming fee while having this cost of building their own network. So people are assigning negative value to Italy. What I believe is that at least you should think about it. If you don't believe it will create value, think about it at least as capital employed. In my valuation, I use Italy. I value Italy at least at capital employed. Why? First reason is that if you look at the capital employed, you got spectrum, which is 1.8 billion. And you also have, and that is valuable in case of any transaction. I mean, if the markets consolidate or if Illiad leaves the market, they will sell the spectrum no less than this value. Also, if they deploy sites, these sites have value because they can be used by any other players in order to densify the network. I mean, the data usage is going up, and the towers and the tower companies are also seeking those kinds of assets. So you have 3.4 billion of capital employed that finally I use at this valuation. So how do you should look at the valuation? In my opinion, you take the current market cap, put the debt, and then put all the capital employed that is yet to be spent in Italy. Then there are some assets you have to adjust. So there's some cash to be received from some deals they did with the sales of some towers. You came to adjusted EV of 8 billion. And if you take away the Italian value that you, let's say, is worth at least capital employed, I mean, Telecom Italia is trading around 1 time capital employed, and actually no other telco is trading less than this. So let's leave you with the French activities at 4.6 billion EV. And if you look at the French free cash flow generation, actually look at the guidance of the operating free cash flow in France. In next year it should be 800 million, and the bridge is pretty easy. Most of it is bottom up because the roaming agreement with Orange will bring about 100 million of cash. You have some lower mobile capex also as well because they build the biggest part of their network. They also have the base of their mobile revenue migration. I showed you that the mobile revenue is growing actually, and also you also get some elements of operating leverage of market repair that probably the company does not really master. But at least we saw that this might happen. And actually the management is still incentivized on this 1 billion target, even though the guidance has been revised to 800 million. So let's take this 800 million, put the normative cost of debt at 3%, let's say, even though France is like at 1.6%, normative cash taxes, and you get a free cash flow of 500 million. So that's an 11% yield on the French EV, showing you that this underlying business is very, very cheap. Actually, if you think about it in terms of equity free cash flow yield, you subtract something like between 1.5 and 1.6 billion 1.8 billion, sorry, of debt assigned to France, and you even get to a higher free cash flow yield in the range of 16 to 20%. So that's it.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I think due to the timing, we would have to move on to the next speaker, but perhaps if we have some time at the end of the conference, we could do some questions or at the bar.
All right. Thank you.
So thank you very much.